Fox Sports.
We are Buffalo. We are Florida.
It was a long, cold dry spell in home run land with a long ball drought that was creeping towards May. Last night, Giancarlo Stanton busted loose with a tape measure shot. And there was much rejoicing. Maybe that's the missing spark the Marlins are looking for. Marlins Cubs coming up.
It is an absolutely gorgeous Sunday afternoon in Miami. And in Miami proper, the roof is closed. The Marlins and the Cubs will close out a 4-game series on a kids' Sunday. University of Miami weekend as well. So a lot going on at the ballpark. And so far, it's been all Cubs in this series. Even Sebastian is looking for a key base hit. Hi, everyone. Rich Waltz on with Preston Wilson and Tommy Upton. And we're decked out in our Marlins University of Miami gear. Who's your favorite Hurricane of all time? Preston?
Charles Johnson. I got to go with Charles Johnson. I played with him, and if he's watching this, he'd kill me if I didn't say it was him, so definitely Charles Johnson.
I don't know. F.P. Santangelo. Who knows?
I'll go with my old partner, Gino Torretta, on that one. It was good to see the big guy hit one out last night. The Marlins lost to the Cubs, but you just saw the Giancarlo Stanton home run. Preston, you know it. You were a power hitter. You hope that that's just the start of coming attractions.
Well, I hope so. And the one thing that I saw last night was I saw balance. I saw him get to a point where he's finished his swing and he was on balance. Earlier in the season, you see him being a little bit top-heavy, spinning off the ball, not having good balance. But right there, that's total balance through the swing. When he finishes that swing, he can walk off, go to first base. That's a good sign.
Yeah, and for Stanton, he's always struggled in April. This is his third big league April. Fish tank blast. Now the homer against Moyer was 461. Stanton last night at 452. We'll talk a little bit more about that as far as Hit Tracker online. Marlins estimated at 472. Okay, on to pitching. And today on the telecast, we're going to focus on the strike zone. You saw Cliff Floyd. Preston, you're going to have some demonstrations as well. Tommy, you'll talk strike zone, and you'll do it in the context of Ricky Nolasco.
Yeah, we'll see if Ricky can stay in the strike zone. Usually, Ricky's a pretty good strike thrower with his fastball, with the change, and with his nice curveball. Ricky's last outing, the weather was a little cool, but he worked well and he got some support, gave up just 2 earned runs against the Twins in Minneapolis. And considering the circumstances, I thought Ricky did a good job. I thought he handled the whole situation professionally. So Ricky Nolasco goes for his second win today. Hey, the all-time winningest Marlin, more strikeouts, more games started, more wins than anybody.
And a Cub draft pick, and he always pitches well against his former organization. It's the Cubs, it's the Marlins. Ricky Nolasco on the hill for the Fish strike zone. That's where we're focused today. Look, Cliff's calling his shot. When we get back, Jeff Conine and Craig Minervini.
start it with Craig and Niner.
Thank you very much, Rich Waltz, out near center field set. We're going to talk a little K-zone here today. Cliff Floyd in a moment. Niner, the strike zone, the most crucial thing for a hitter.
Oh, definitely the most crucial thing, and the most crucial thing is knowing the strike zone and knowing what pitches, especially here on a Kid Sunday, which pitches to swing at and which ones to let go. But our own Cliff Floyd takes it away and kind of describes what the strike zone should be anyway.
Take it away, Mr. Floyd.
Hey, I'm Cliff Floyd with Tech Talk. Today we're going to talk the strike zone. According to the official rules 2.0, the strike zone is that area over home plate, the upper limit of which is horizontal line at the midpoint between the top of the shoulders and the top of the uniform pants. And the lower level is a line at the hollow beneath the kneecap. The strike zone should be determined from the batter's stance as the batter is prepared to swing at a pitched ball. In simpler terms, of the strike zone is from the letters to below the kneecap, and from the outer half of the plate to the inner half. For me, I like the middle of the plate to the inner half because I like to hit home runs to right field. But as a youngster, I want you guys to cover the whole plate. That means from the outer half of the plate to the middle of the plate to the inner half of the plate. Do not let the umpire dictate your at bat, and you'll be in the zone. As a pitcher, you establish your zone. The umpire has his zone. From the first inning on, the strike zone is yours. If you hit in spots, he will give you calls. If you're nibbling around the plate, he won't give you calls. So it's up to you to establish where you want to be throughout the game. And remember, do not argue with blue. If you do, you'll be out of here. Speaking of out of here, I'm out. See you next time on Tech Talk.
Nice job from Cliff Floyd there. And now you look at that, it's a rule book strike zone. And very seldom, especially the major league level, do you see it called from the letters down. It's usually belt down.
Percentage-wise, how many times do you agree with the umpire on the strikes in your career?
A lot.
Yeah.
90%.
Says a lot. All right, Ricky Nolasco, he always is around the strike zone. He'll try and solve the Cubbies in Game 4 next.
Cubs, the Fish trying to salvage just one game out of this four-game series. The Cubs and the Marlins have played 8 four-game series over their history, and no one has ever swept a series. So Nolasco's job, get the Cubs out and hope for some runs. David DeJesus in center field. Starlin Castro with a terrific defensive play last night that helped save a run. Anthony Rizzo had the big night early in the series with the 2 home runs. Alfonso Soriano's in left. Nate Schierholtz, a terrific start and a great catch last night. Deano Navarro, the veteran behind the plate. Luis Valbuena is at third base. Darwin Barney's at second. And Carlos Villanueva has had a very nice start for the Cubs. And here's Nolasco settling in. Ricky's last start came in chilly Minneapolis. In that nightcap, the Marlins actually scored him some runs, which was impressive, seeing that they had not scored but 1 run in his first 4 starts. The Fish came out and scored 8, and he beat the Twins 8-5.
Rich, you talked about it. Ricky Nolasco coming up in the Cubs organization, 49-24 as a minor leaguer with the Cubs. Always a winner.
And of course, part of the 4-man deal, 3 coming this way. Juan Pierre going to the Cubs. Nolasco arriving. Sergio Mitre, Renyel Pinto. And it was Nolasco who was the best of the bunch, as Tommy pointed out. Just a terrific career as a Marlin. And look at the numbers against the Cubs there at the bottom of that list. To Jesus. Nolasco spins one up there and misses outside. It's appropriate that on a day, guys, where we're talking about the strike zone, we have Jim Joyce behind home plate, the most vocal and one of the very best umpires in Major League Baseball.
I think definitely the fans appreciate it, because when he calls a strike, they don't have to guess whether it's going to be a strike. He lets them know right away, and it's very loud.
And of course, since it's a strike zone day, today we are going to put the Fox tracks in and keep it in of our center field camera. Keep it in all day. So there it is. We're going to try it all day as we talk strike zone. And that one misses inside, and Ricky Nolasco normally doesn't walk many people. That's just the 8th walk he's given up. This is start number 6. Miami's defense presented by the Cleveland Clinic, Florida.
Yeah, we'll check out that defense with JP and Coughlin. Chris Coughlin in center field. Giancarlo in right. Valleca moves over to start at third. Nick Green's the shortstop. Solano and Dobbs over on the right side. And Rob Brantley, who just had a tremendous start to this season as far as throwing runners out. 4 for 7 in that category behind the plate.
Now Starlin Castro. And he drives one to center field. Hits it pretty well. Coughlin is back. Sets himself. Makes the catch. Tagging is DeJesus. And a terrific job by Coughlin to get his feet set to make that throw, because DeJesus bolted to second. He was judging that throw as to whether he was going to stop or keep going.
If you're a runner and you see the center fielder backpedaling a little bit, not setting himself the way Coughlin did, if you're a runner, you might take off and try to get to second base.
Oh, that's such a long throw, and if you do have good speed like DeJesus has, you can make that if the outfielder is backpedaling. But Coughlin did a great job working behind that ball, getting his momentum going in towards second base when he made that throw.
Now Anthony Rizzo, a couple of home runs in this series, and he just missed one last night on a foul ball. Rizzo, the Parkland product, Stoneman Douglas High School. You can see the power numbers: 8 homers, 18 runs driven in. For a team that came into this series much like the Marlins, the Cubs had just 6 wins. They were 6-14 coming into this series. The Marlins coming into this series were 5-16, and the Cubs have taken the first 3 games.
Well, it's the first time the Cubs have won 2 in a row. It's the first time the Cubs have won 3 in a row this year.
Cubs are in a full-blown rebuilding mode, but they also have veteran talent on this team. You've got DeJesus, Soriano, Shearholtz. Add in Starlin Castro, a budding superstar. Anthony Rizzo, a power guy. So the Cubs are a little further along in the rebuilding effort than Miami is right now. Dale Swaim, the skipper.
I got a chance to talk to Jamie Quirk, who's the bench coach over there. I had him. He was also the bench coach in Colorado when I was there. He's really excited about some of the young players that they have, and he knows that they have a ways to go, but he said there definitely is some light at the end of the tunnel.
Rizzo went down, got an off-speed pitch, and he drills it in the gap, right center field, and it's off the base of the wall. Racing for third is DeJesus. They will send him. Here he comes, and he will score. And Anthony Rizzo does it again. The Cubs have a first-inning run.
That kid is grown man strong. He is really strong. He went down and got that ball effortlessly, and you saw both outfielders converging on it, and neither one of them had a chance by the time that ball got halfway out there.
I think Ricky would have liked to have that split, the little changeup down a little more, but still it was a pretty good pitch. Rizzo's been on fire in this series and on their road trip. They've had a long road trip, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, and then here in Miami. And Boy, on the trip, Rizzo's hit 4 home runs and driven in some big runs with that double right there.
And that's not a bad pitch. That's a good pitch. That pitch is down and away. He goes out and somehow barrels it one-handed and drives it in the gap.
Jim Joyce barks out strike one to Alfonso Soriano. Soriano, a guy that has been with the Cubs now, this into his 7th season. Remember, he signed that big contract after the enormous year he had in Washington in 06.
Remember when he went to Washington, people were saying, well, that big ballpark, they were at RFK at the time. Power numbers will probably go down a little bit for Soriano, and all he did was have a 40-40 season.
Yeah, and he cashed that in with an 8-year, $136 million contract. He's getting $18 million this year, and he's due $18 million next year. He's got Rizzo at second, a run across. Pulls a ground ball to third. Valleca, Rizzo, a terrific job of anticipating, takes third base. And the Cubs with a runner at third and 2 outs, and Nate Shearholt's coming up.
That's a heads-up play for a young player. I mean, okay, to get to third with 2 out isn't as much, doesn't have as much meaning as if you're there with 1 out, but it's important to get there, and that was a nice heads-up play.
It is a heads-up play. I think Valleca also, if he would have pumped, they gave him like a little pump right there, it would have frozen him. But he was really just kind of waiting for Valleca to turn to first and deliver that ball, and he was ready to go.
Now Nolasco goes after Nate Shearholtz. Shearholtz, the 29-year-old guy that was in the Giants organization for a long time. Last year finished his season with the Phillies. He's off to a nice start. He's already popped 3 home runs. His average over 300. Tommy, he always struck you as a player that you always wondered if he got 500-600 at bats for a couple of seasons, if he might develop into an everyday player.
Solid player. He's an excellent outfielder.
Yes.
And can give you some power, and he's got some experience. He was on that World Series Giants team in 2010.
One of the great throwing arms in the outfield in the game. Nolasco misses up. Ball and a strike on Anthony Rizzo, RBI double. And the Cubs are off to a 1-0 start. The Cubs have won the first 3 of this 4-game set. And there's the local kid make good. And Rizzo at third.
You know, the one thing with Rizzo going from second to third that it does do is it makes the Marlins more cognitive of a wild pitch situation. Now, if there is a wild pitch or a pass ball, that guy can score, as opposed to if he'd stayed at second. Now that anxiety is not there because you're not as worried about a wild pitch in that situation, especially with Ricky having that splitter.
I'm just thinking about Rizzo. He got some good home cooking since he's been here.
Just up the road in Parkland. Shearholtz with a 1-2 coming from Nolasco. In the air out behind second, it's Green who calls for it. Anthony Rizzo has given the Cubs a 1-0 lead in Miami this afternoon. ball game. The Cubs are on top of Miami. A little Burger 305 action. Marlin lineup. The Fish last night, another struggle offensively. Miami just 5 hits and 2 runs. Juan Pierre, Chris Coghlan, Giancarlo Stanton. Greg Dobbs is at first. Donovan Solano, Rob Brantley to follow. Nick Green's at short, moving Chris Faleka to third. And the first pitch is down low. Juan Pierre against Carlos Villanueva. Chris Coghlan, Giancarlo Stanton will follow. Jim Joyce calling that a strike. That's a quality mustache and a quality starter. Villanueva is 1-0. In his ERA, you see the slender 1.53. He's left with the lead in all 4 of his starts. That's a swing. But the Cubs bullpen, so awful at the start of the year, have not been able to hold any of his leads, except the 1 win.
I'll tell you the stat I heard on Villanueva today. He's given up 13 hits this year. None have come with a man on base.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's been the Cubs' best starter. And starting pitching has been a strength for the Cubs, much like the Marlins.
Well, if they had a stat for mustaches, I think he'd be leading the league in that also.
Oh, he'd be on top of the pile right there. Yeah, the Cubs are second to the Cardinals in ERA for starting pitchers this year.
He's always had a mustache, but that's like a mini handlebar look.
He's going Raleigh fingers on us.
Yeah, that's the as you put it, Preston, during the break, that's the early 1900s bare knuckle brawler guy.
Oh yeah, see him stepping into the ring with a singlet on, ready to call people out.
Singlet. Who wears a singlet these days? Villanueva with the tag, and Pierre is out. Nice play by the 29-year-old.
Well, it didn't interfere with a nice play there. To get over there, he had to make a decision. Can I get this ball and flip it to first, or am I better off trying to tag Pierre? And he tagged him for a fine play.
Dusts himself off, gets a laugh from Deanna Navarro, and here's the defense brought to you by the Cleveland Clinic, Florida.
Well, there's Soriano and DeJesus and Shearholtz in that outfield with Valbuena and Castro left side, Barney and Rizzo. And Deanna Navarro is in there, number 1, because we've seen Castillo all 3 games of the series, but Navarro 7 for 10 against Ricky Nolasco.
Chris Coghlan. And Villanueva misses just low. Coghlan takes down low. Coghlan did not get the start last night. Justin Ruggiano was in center field. Last night, Travis Wood went 6 innings, gave up 3 hits. 2 of them were home runs. The solo homers by Giancarlo Stanton and Miguel Olivo. Marlins got another nice start from Alex Sanabia. Pitched into the 7th, gave up just 3 runs, but he gets the loss. He's 2-3. You see that Fox tracks that first pitch was borderline at the knees, and it did not go Villanueva's way, and Coghlan a 4-pitch walk.
Yeah, it was a good job by Sanabia, and when you think about the Cubs offense, and it happened to Sanabia last night, Friday night they scored on the 4th pitch of the game, Rizzo's home run. Saturday, DeJesus on a wild pitch that Sanabia threw up there, and today it was a Rizzo double on the 9th pitch. It's like Groundhog Day, the way the Cubs have been scoring in this series.
Now Giancarlo Stanton. Many different numbers emerge from Stanton's home run in terms of home run distance. The service that we use and usually cite is Hit Tracker Online. No one has a more comprehensive site on home runs than Hit Tracker Online. And last night they had the true distance of Stanton's homer at 440 feet. Now, it went over the scoreboard.
Don't get me started.
Well, but I've got some math that might help you on this.
Don't go there. You know I wasn't good at math.
Stanton swings and misses. Okay, as comparison, the home run against Jamie Moyer was 461.
It hit the scoreboard.
Right, but it's a true distance, and Hit Tracker on trajectory and speed of ball calculates the distance.
It's like sabermetrics. You can't tell me the one he hit over the scoreboard was less.
No, what they're saying is...
They're saying it was less.
No.
Yeah, they are.
No. Stop. Easy. What they're saying is, had the ball that he hit the scoreboard kept going, it would have gone farther than the ball that landed behind the scoreboard. That's what they're saying.
Wasn't as high. Wouldn't have gone as far.
Here's the 2-2. Ah, there's a drive. Go check on that one. It's gone.
Hit tracker. Go find me a number.
Giancarlo Stanton has busted loose his second.
Man, that was a great swing right there. Again, kind of a duplicate of what we saw last night with that balance. You saw it early in the bat. He was getting ready, nice on time, and it just looked like he was more in control. He was taking pitches, and the ball was still so far away from him when he decided to not swing at it. And that ball was just blasted.
And Miami has a 2-1 lead.
Preston, how much of it for Stanton and for most hitters is it now you see him laying off that pitch that's a pitcher's pitch?
Well, that's so much of it. And when you look at how a guy takes pitches, when he took those pitches early in that bat, he knew there were balls when the ball was still a long way away from him. So he was able to step, recognize, and then he would always turn his shoulder back in with enough time to know that that ball was going to be a ball. And there, he's just waiting on it, gets off a great swing. It looked easy. The balance was there, really easy, compact swing. And when you got power like he does, and you can get behind the ball like that, the ball's going to go a long ways.
He homered off of Villanueva literally and figuratively because it looked like the ball bounced off of Villanueva's face on the scoreboard there above the bullpen.
You realize that Giancarlo now has more home runs this April than he had last April.
That's a great, and we talk about it. This is his third Major League April, and all three Major League Aprils have been slow months in terms of home runs. Dobbs up there with the 0-2 pitch and a good one. Jim Joyce rings him up. You could see on Fox Tracks that pitch caught right on the inside black. Aside from the mustache, what's on the scouting report?
Well, we'll check it out. We didn't get the mustache on the report, but when he keeps the ball down, and we've seen him try to do that, he gets good sink. His changeup, he'll use the lefties, has a little fade to it, and he's quick to first base, so runners like to know that.
Now Solano. A strike. Solano in the 5 spot. 3 for 11 in the series. Had a chance to go down to the umpire's room and talk to the umpires about strike zone. And Jim Joyce had most of his gear on. One of the questions I asked him was, when did he develop his strike call? He said it just happened. Not something he planned. A smash, and Castro with a diving catch. Terrific play by Starlin Castro. But Miami grabs the lead, and they do it with a second homer in less than 24 hours from Giancarlo Stanton. definition, and it's brought to you by H.H. Gregg. In Miami, Giancarlo Stanton is homered again, and the Marlins have a 2-1 lead over the Cubs. Ricky Nolasco, all of a sudden, guys, first 4 starts, 1 run of run support. Marlins got 8 runs in that game in Minneapolis, and they have 2 already here.
Yeah, the game in Minneapolis, 8-5 win. Ricky went 5 innings, gave up 3 runs, 2 earned, and picked up his first win of the season, trying to even his record today.
And when you hit a 2-run homer and you play for the Marlins, it's okay to give the camera a little fisheye out there, just to make sure they're looking at you.
Nolasco goes to work now on Deanna Navarro, Luis Valbuena, and Darwin Barney. One. Nolasco misses in. Navarro has been around, and that's one of the things you look for with your backup catcher. You want a veteran, a guy who can handle pitchers. Last year, Navarro finished the season with Cincinnati. In fact, they valued his experience so much that they added him late and put him on the postseason roster. Had 4 at-bats in that division series against the Giants. 2-2. Good pitch, jam shot. And it's Solano who makes the catch. So an out here in the second. You go to any Wednesday Marlins game, save up to 60% with a Chevron Crazy 8 ticket offer. Fill up at a participating Chevron to get $8 home run porch or $18 home plate box tickets. Visit your local Chevron or Marlins.com/Chevron for details. Restrictions apply. Here is Luis Valbuena. Now Valbuena had an important home run, a 9th inning home run against Steve Cishek in game 1 of this series. Cubs have used the long ball, at least they did in the first 2 games of this series. No homers last night.
Anytime you see Ricky drop in that breaking ball and start getting a few of those pitches over, that's always a good sign for him.
Nolasco can really spin it, and as you watch the Fox tracks during the show, we're keeping it up for the entire game. Remember that measures the ball when it crosses the front of the plate. That one may cross the top of the fence, but Stanton is there and he makes the catch. And Valbuena is denied extra bases.
You know, I like when his defense starts to pick up also. You see a really good job by him right here. He's able to take his eye off the ball, find the fence, then pick the ball up again, and it makes that catch so much more comfortable when you don't have the anxiety of the fence there. You know where it is. Now you pick up the ball and you're able to make that play.
Ricky goes, yeah, I like that one, G. He's had kind of a weird year defensively, Stanton has. He's made 5 errors, but he's made some really nice plays, though, too, in between.
I saw 2 of those errors, and I really think those 2 were just due to fatigue. It was the first game back when he came back from taking those games off, and he was out there. It was a long game. He had a few long innings out there in Cincinnati, and he kicked 2 balls around, and they were at the end of the game. So I try to give him a pass on those, but hopefully he'll get back to playing the consistent defense that he played towards the end of last year, which was, to me, the best I've seen him play.
Darwin Barney is up. You can see both pitches a little bit out of that zone. Barney, a big night on Friday night. He had 3 hits. Coughlin a long way to go. He's going to get there, though. He makes a running catch. And Nolasco, after the Marlins give him the lead, goes 1-2-3 through the Cubs in the second. is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. By AT&T Uverse TV. Check availability at 1-800-PICK-AT&T. Rethink possible. And by Just for Men Auto Stop, the foolproof way to get rid of gray. What a gorgeous look of Miami. You can see right up the way there at Marlins Park. Lunch being served on a kids' Sunday. And as we talk about the strike zone, and the Marlins trying to get a win here, and they've got a Giancarlo Stanton home run, a 2-run shot, and a 2-1 lead. And they go back to work against Carlos Villanueva with Rob Brantley, Nick Green, Chris Valleca. Brantley a 1 for 5 in the series.
I think Brantley's thinking to himself, one of those might be a ball, and the pitch tracks shows that one of them was, but he didn't get the call. I think sometimes an umpire is just like let's say a starting pitcher has to get into the feel of the game. I think the umpire has to get into the feel of both the starting pitchers.
In talking to the umpires today, they also said they've got to get into the feel of the catcher. The catcher is as much a part of this dynamic as any. How much does a catcher move? Where can an umpire set up to get a good look?
Yeah, and different catchers move differently also. Some move late, some set up a little early. Some guys are a little bit more upright in their stance, so they also have to adjust to each catcher as far as how they're in their stance as comparison to him.
A strikeout of Brantley. Let's check in with Craig Minervini. Craig?
Hey, guys, on the Marlins this year, no one has taken a swing at the first pitch more than the guy coming up to the plate, Nick Green, coming into the series at the 65% now of the time he's swinging at the first pitch, and he's had a lot of success in his career. Nick Green is a .375 hitter when swinging at the first pitch. You see over 32% of the time. The league average is around 26% this year. And when guys put the ball in play on that first pitch, you see the results. And there he goes, first pitch swinging. So I said, where did it come from? He said, I asked Derek Jeter back in '06. He said, you always seem like you swing at the first pitch. Jeter told him, I'm always ready for that first pitch fastball right down the middle, and I'll adjust to the other pitches, but I don't want to give that pitch up. Interestingly enough, Green told me that it gets around. People know he's a first pitch. Last week against Aroldis Chapman, he said, I decided to change my strategy, and I let a 93-mile-an-hour down the middle go. Next time up, he got me 99 on the corner and 98, and I was done. He said, so now I'm ready every time. But he did add, guys, I wish I was more patient.
There he goes swinging there, and Villanueva has now struck out 3. Thank you, Craig. Chris Valleca coming up. If you've just happened by, it's the Cubs and the Marlins here at Miami. The roof is closed. The rolling windows are open. We've got a terrific view of the downtown skyline with a gentle breeze coming in. Miami needs wins. There's no way around it. The Marlins are 5-19, and that is worst, the worst in Major League Baseball. And they felt coming in, the Marlins did, that they had the Cubs in town, a chance to get some wins. Tommy Hutton, as you pointed out, the Cubs had the same feeling, though, come Thursday night.
Now, the Cubs in this series have managed to get that key hit or make that key play. And that's where the Marlins have struggled. And you talk about 24 games the Marlins have played. They've scored 3 runs or less in 20 of those games. So not only do they need wins, they need runs.
Valleca takes a breaking ball Valbuena's way, and he fires across in time to get the out. Villanueva bounces back from a 2-run first with a 1-2-3 second. Hello, camera 12. out in the Clevelander today. And they look tasty. Poll question, AT&T U-verse poll question. We're talking strike zone. Is today's strike zone more defined than in the past? Yes. Hashtag good MLB zone. No. Hashtag no good MLB zone.
I think there's more focus on the strike zone today because of all the technical equipment that we see, pitch tracks and things like that. I think there's more focus on the strike zone.
There was a great article written about a year or so ago about the strike zone, talking about when Quest Tech was put into the ballparks, how it really tightened up the strike zone as far as width-wise, and now it's kind of forced umpires to start calling the north and south strike more, because it was really getting kind of ridiculous at one point, as wide as they were calling the strike zone.
Villanueva knocks one into left field. A leadoff hit for the Cubs pitcher. Top of the order with DeJesus and Starlin Castro. In our visit with the umpires today, they pointed out that they are graded on accuracy. And the accuracy in terms of what you see with the Fox box. There's a look at third base umpire Corey Blazer. The Fox box is Fox Tracks is a instrument that is used, that technology, to grade the umpires. Only their technology is a little more defined. Borderline calls are run through a little more of the ringer, so to speak, and they get a little more defined look. But the Fox Tracks itself is accurate up to an inch, less than an inch, and it's set to each batter's individual height and stance.
Yeah, I have no problem with the umpires calling the ball. That's a full baseball width off the plate. When you're talking about live action, 90-plus miles an hour, it's easy to understand how maybe that call can be missed every now and then. But when you start getting that ball crossing the white line on the outside of the plate, then you know that that's a little bit too far out there.
Generally, umpires are graded out right around 96, 97% accuracy in called strikes.
I think the thing, too, as a hitter, you always like to know who that umpire is. You might have a guy behind the plate who's a pitcher's umpire, and he's going to give that call just off there. So if you know that as a hitter, you might be a little more aggressive. If you know the umpire maybe is not a pitcher's umpire, then you can be a little more patient.
But Tommy, playing devil's advocate right here, why is there such a thing as a hitter's umpire or a pitcher's umpire?
Because they're human beings.
And that's the point I was going to come to next. I'm very glad you said that.
All right.
Part of everything that goes into this, it's psychology. You know, especially when you talk about being an umpire, and a lot of times in that home team's ballpark, when it comes down to the bottom of the ninth, you'll notice the home team a lot of times gets those calls. That's why you see so many guys punching out to end the game, because the last thing an umpire wants to do in some situation, being human, is to have people yelling at him as he's walking off the field. And they may not admit it, but that's part of it.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. Well, there's no greater example than Jim Joyce being behind home plate. Joyce, of course, who went through that emotional situation in Detroit with the perfect game, the call that he missed it at first base. And then the following night,
it was a day game the next day.
And he had home plate, because you rotate from first to home plate. He was embraced not only by the crowd in Detroit, but also both teams. Very emotional moment. And to me, it's just a terrific moment to watch the emotion from Jim Joyce, and to see how, you know, the fans in Detroit, both teams, Galarraga himself came out, presented the lineup card, and everybody was very forgiving in that.
And from what I understand, Rich, he was given the option of not taking the plate that day, to going on to the bases, and he said, no, it's my turn to be behind the plate. I'll take it.
And that's the beauty of this game. You get to see that people understand that you can have a bad day at your job. It doesn't mean you're a bad person. You may have a bad call or have a bad day, but deep down inside, we don't think that because you made a bad call that you're a bad person.
Thanks, Preston. I like that, because we have a lot of bad days up here. So I appreciate that.
Starlin Castro's up. He hit a fly ball out to center. Ricky Nolasco's given up a couple hits to open up the third. In a 2-1 ball game, Giancarlo Stanton 2-run homer is standing up right now for Miami. Rich Waltz, along with Tommy Hutton, Preston Wilson with us. For Nolasco, 10 of 11 first pitch strikes. As a hitter, how conscious are you guys of that stat once you get to the second time through?
Oh, very much so. You want to make sure that if you got a guy who's up there just firing away first pitch strikes, that he's not going to get ahead of you, especially a guy who has a pitch like a splitter that can put you away. You do not want to get 0-1, 0-2 against those guys.
Because as we all know, 0-2, it's a lot tougher to hit, even 1-2, 2-2. Once you get 2 strikes, a pitcher's goal is to get to that point.
Castro up there. The count's 2-1. Villanueva at second. DeJesus at first. Jim Joyce brings up the second strike, and it's 2-2. Cubs got a run in the first on the Anthony Rizzo RBI double, and Rizzo, a local kid, is on deck. Breaking ball, that's a fair ball, and down the line it goes. Pierre tries to collect it. Villanueva scores. DeJesus scores. And the Cubs are back on top. Castro with a 2-run double.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes it's important to get that first pitch strike, and we saw that Ricky was 10 out of 11. But then you have to make pitches to put that hitter away, and that breaking ball stayed up.
You know, there's a thing called control, and then there's command. Control is throwing strikes. Command is where those pitches are thrown, whether they're up, down, to the corner or not. And right there, he had control because he's throwing strikes, but he wasn't commanding the ball where he wanted to.
And now it's Rizzo, who's had a big impact in this series. Already 8 home runs and 19 runs driven in. It's a historic start for Rizzo as far as Cubs go. And the month of April with the 8 home runs, it's the most homers by a Cubs left-handed hitter in franchise history in April. Billy Williams and Henry Rodriguez at 7, and Rizzo stands alone at 8.
There's been some pretty good left-handed hitting Cubs too over the years.
Our buddy Cliff Floyd had just 1 year, so he's excused.
We'll have to talk to Rick Mundy about that too when we see him.
Now, in terms of right-handed and left-handed Cubs, Alfonso Soriano in 2011 hit 10 April homers. Derek Lee, our buddy D. Lee, Sammy Sosa twice had 8 homer Aprils. Rizzo has a few more days to shoot for Soriano's record. Cancer survivor, he battled that right after he signed with the Red Sox. Centerpiece in a couple of big trades. And a pair of executives that like him a lot, and Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer knew him certainly from the Red Sox days.
That tells you a lot.
And they have him here in Chicago as part of the master plan. See, Ricky's been all over the map in this at bat. 3-1 coming. Castro's at second, and it's up. This copyrighted telecast presented by the authority of the Miami Marlins may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins.
One of the areas where you can see where Ricky hasn't been able to put hitters away as he gets a visit from his pitching coach, Chuck Hernandez, out there, is that he has no strikeouts today. And we've seen all the first pitch strikes, yet he hasn't been able to put the hitters away.
Mike Redmond watching, Hernandez counseling. Cubs are set up for a big inning here. They already have 2 across and have runners first and second. And here is Soriano. Now, in his history, Soriano, in terms of driving in runs and being in the middle of the order, never has really thrived in that role. Though last year, he did set a career high. He drove in 108. But so far this year, amazingly, hitting cleanup, he's driven in just 2.
That's kind of been a problem for him throughout his career. They've kind of wanted him to hit more in the middle of the lineup, but he just wasn't able to drive in runs. And you can see last year and this year, they're definitely trying to force the issue to try to get him to hit there. Because he has so much power, maybe he can develop into more consistent RBI type guy.
Oh and 1. Nolasco's 44 pitches into this ball game. Nobody out in the third.
It's funny how seasons go for guys. Just yesterday, Justin Upton for the Braves hit his 12th home run. Yet he has 18 RBIs. So he's hit a lot of solo shots, but he still has 12.
He needs BJ to get on base a little more.
Yeah, he's not.
And
Hayward, saying, come on, bro, pick me up.
Come on, little bro.
And even Hayward in front of him haven't been getting on base. That's one of the amazing things about the Braves' start, is they haven't been firing on all cylinders offensively. McCann is not back yet. Now, what do they do with Evan Gattis when McCann gets back?
Well, the Braves have sputtered a little bit. They got off to that 12-1 start, and they're 3-7 since then. So they've sputtered somewhat. That was a good pitch, by the way, for Ricky to get Soriano to expand the strike zone, because he'll chase it, and he did.
Well, and that's been the problem with Soriano in RBI situation. He's been so easy to pitch to. He can hit a fastball better than anyone in the league, but he can be pitched to with the breaking stuff, and he will expand his zone to get himself out with men in scoring position.
Ricky has his out. Schierholtz asks for time and steps out.
Crack staff on top of things, Rich and Preston. 11 solo home runs for Justin Upton.
Todd Chimchuk is the captain of the crack staff today.
I've watched Ricky pitch a lot, and I've actually thought that he needs to throw more balls at times because he throws so many strikes. Sometimes late in the count, he's still throwing pitches that are too good to hit, and it ends up working against him. So I think, a lot of pitchers have to work on throwing strikes. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but he may actually need to work on throwing pitches that are out of the strike zone when he really wants to.
What he'd really like here is a ground ball and a chance to get out of the inning with just the 2 runs. Schierholtz popped out back in the first. Schierholtz grew up in the East Bay of Northern California. Chabot Junior College, ended up getting drafted by the Giants. One and 2.
You can see with pitch tracks up what Ricky and Rob Brantley are trying to do. They're trying to work in and out. And I like that Ricky's tried to come in with some fastballs. He's missed a couple of times, but you have to keep that hitter, especially the lefty, honest.
There is the ground ball. Solano, and the Marlins don't turn it. And I think if Nick Green had it to do over again, he'd have taken it himself.
Yeah, he would, because he surprised Solano, and Solano thought he was going to take it because he was so close to the bag. And Nick Green knows that. He's a veteran. This close, he takes 2 steps, he's on the bag. He surprises Solano, who's not in any kind of position to make the pivot. So he had a little hesitation, and then because of that, the Marlins aren't able to turn 2. It's the big picture right there. Those are the little things we've seen over this first month of the season.
Yeah, and when you're the shortstop and you're that close, your momentum is taking you toward first. So you're actually going to be able to make that throw a lot stronger than the guy coming across second base, moving away from first base would be able to.
Deoner Navarro, ground ball. Solano gobbles it up, fires to first. So Nolasco gives up a 2-run double to Starlin Castro, and it's 3-2 Cubs. here at Marlins Park. You can look right through the Clevelander out into left field on a kid's Sunday. Guy sporting a Puerto Rico hat. The man on the mound out of the Dominican Republic. Carlos Villanueva has had a terrific year for the Cubs. Giancarlo Stanton stung him, though, for a 2-run homer in the first. Miami's lead held up for an inning. Starlin Castro, a 2-run double.
Yeah, Villanueva is a guy, Rich, that we've seen over the years. As I'm with the Milwaukee Brewers, he also pitched for Toronto. But it appears, and in talking to some of the people who follow the Cubs, that he's put it together. And he's 29 years old, but he's getting most of his pitches down in the zone, and that's what's really helped him this year.
He had an interesting start to his professional career as a teenager in the Dominican Republic. Sammy Sosa saw him at a kind of a rec league game and was so impressed with him, he said, "Hey, I'm leaving for spring training in a week. You're coming with me." And he did. He took him to Mesa and to the Cubs spring training. Cub Scouts saw him. He strikes him out. He ended up signing with the Giants in 2002. Then on to the Brewers, Blue Jays, and now Cubs. 2013 All-Star Game at Citi Field. You can vote for your favorite Marlin All-Star hopeful at Marlins.com. Vote 25 times. You get 4 free Marlin tickets. And one winner gets a luxury suite for 22. We don't even get a luxury suite. We don't even get a luxury suite for 2 at Marlins Park.
Rich, we have a luxury suite every night. Sitting here broadcasting game.
Well, if you think peanuts and stuff scattered all over the place is luxury, then you're right. And we have a great view, that's for sure. Juan Pierre takes inside.
We could be a little more tidy.
I would like one of the Shirley Temples from the Clevelander myself. 1-1. This is a very important pitch in terms of how hitters fare. It's down.
Well, we were talking last inning about hitting with 2 strikes and how it's much more difficult. Look at that. Since 1998, Hall of Famer Tony Gwynn, a 300 average. And look at how it drops. Juan Pierre's on that list. But Tony Gwynn, a 302 average with 2 strikes. Incredible.
Pierre, a high pop-up, and it ends up in the glove of the Gold Glover, Darwin Barney. See, now, to me, Tommy, that would be luxury. One of those frozen drinks and some food from the Clevelander. And maybe one of those floaty inner tubes, and we could float around the pool.
I think that would work.
Chris Coghlan has walked, and he scored on the Stanton home run. Giancarlo's homer off the facing of the deck above the Clevelander is the only hit that Miami has on the day. Was the lollipop curve. Vicente Padilla, who I surprisingly saw pitch in Japan about a month ago. He's pitching in Japan this year. Padilla threw that the last few years.
Yu Darvish will flip one of those up every once in a while. The Japanese pitcher with the Rangers. He'll throw that pitch.
We'll have to ask Adam LaRoche the next time we see him if his dad taught him that pitch, the
Lalab.
Lalab.
Dave LaRoche.
Coghlan pulls a 3-hopper Barney's way, flip to first. When we get back, Preston Wilson in his little clubhouse. Talk strike zone. It's the fourth. We're talking strike zone. Let's go to Preston Wilson in his little clubhouse. Preston, where are you?
Hey guys, I'm over here in my little demonstration pod, as you can see. I want to show you a few things that I see differently with Giancarlo Stanton right now as opposed to what he was doing earlier this year. Now he's getting ready a little bit earlier. He's got good balance. His setup point's good. You see the front side staying closed a little bit longer, and then he's extending through the ball with good balance. See that good balance point right there? You could actually draw a line from his head down through the middle of his body. Great job, and that's the adjustments that he's making right now.
Now, in terms of strike zone, he's really had to define his strike zone this year, especially without a lot of protection around him.
Well, what he has to do is just try to be himself. He can't worry about what the other guys are doing, whether they're going to pitch to him or not. As long as he's controlling his setup more consistently, he's going to swing at good pitches more consistently, and that's going to let everything else work itself out.
That's a great point. You know, he's ready to hit. If he's set up and ready, then when he sees that pitch, he's going to have a good swing.
That one fouled back and out of play. Another look at the home run in this ball game. That one to left field off the facing of the second deck. 2-1 pitch. And Luis Valbuena swings and misses. Now, the strike zone for you, Preston, did it change at all from when you entered the big leagues to the time you were a veteran and left the big leagues?
Well, actually, yeah, it did. When I first got to the big leagues, I realized that more of these pitches were around the plate a lot more. So then I was able to refine it a little bit. I was still a free swinger, but I was able to refine it a little bit. Later in my career, I actually learned the strike zone a lot better and learned what pitches I can handle and what pitches I couldn't better.
So when you made the jump from AAA to the big leagues, did it become easier to hit because the ball was closer to the plate? I've heard a lot of hitters say that.
Well, for me it was, because I never had a problem hitting the fastball. So since the ball was around the plate more, there was more stuff I could swing at. But later on in my career, I had to learn what pitches I could actually handle as opposed to just swing at.
I think the difference when you're in the minor leagues, you're seeing a lot of pitchers maybe that you only see once or twice. You don't see that often. At least at the big league level, they're all better, but you see them a lot, and you're able to kind of work counts and guess a little bit, work pitchers that way.
This is Darwin Barney. Barney has flied out.
And by the way, Rich, that is Preston's plush suite.
Yes, it is. Ball and a strike here. 58 pitches for Nolasco in the fourth.
Be good for Ricky and help him out if he has a quick inning here.
1-1 breaking ball. Green lines it up at short and throws out a hustling Darwin Barney.
Watching Nick Green, by the way, Danny Echeverria is close. A couple of rehab games. We should see him ready to play in Philadelphia.
This year, Fox Sports Supports is proud to partner with Stomp Out Bullying, the leading national anti-bullying organization for kids and teens in the U.S. Stomp Out Bullying focuses on preventing bullying and all forms of digital abuse. It educates against racism and hatred, deters violence in schools and online, and helps at-risk students. To learn how you can help, please visit stompoutbullying.org.
I think the importance of Echeverria getting back, it gives you a little consistency. At shortstop, it helps out Solano at second base. He has a familiar partner.
Valleca charges, grabs, and fires to first. And Alaska gets through a 10-pitch inning for Ricky Nolasco. Sports Forward is brought to you by Honda. Visit your Honda dealer for great lease and finance deals on fuel-efficient Honda. And by Checkers, Feast On. A day at the beach, and we're proud to be carried on the American Forces Network, broadcasting to U.S. Armed Forces serving in 175 countries aboard ships at sea, watching around the world in Iraq, Germany, Italy, Southwest Asia, South Korea, and Japan. Welcome. Thank you for all that you do. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton, Preston Wilson. We're at Marlins Park in Miami. We'll give you the sights and the sounds. We'll take you out to the Clevelander. We'll show you a little of the beach just to get you a taste of baseball in Miami on a Sunday afternoon. For two struggling ball clubs, the Cubs seem to have found a little mojo here. They've won 3 games of this 4-game set. The Marlins have their big bat finally firing. Giancarlo Stanton homered last night, and he's homered in this ball game, and he takes outside from Carlos Villanueva.
All of a sudden, the word is going to get out that Giancarlo is starting to get locked in.
He just looks so much more comfortable taking pitches these last few games. Before you see him, maybe his front shoulder start to leak a little bit, like he's thinking about swinging to that pitch. He never had a doubt that that ball was a ball out of the pitcher's hand because he was ready so early to see it.
Today's cold, hard fact is brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Longest home run droughts, the one he just ended was not his longest, and it illustrates, especially the 97 gamer, that he has struggled in all of his big league Aprils, and this is his 3rd.
Well, in 2011, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs in April. He has 2 and 7 right now. Last year, 1 home run and 9 RBIs in April.
Stanton leading off, bottom of the 4th. And nice job by Stanton. You could tell, as you guys pointed out, now that he's hit a couple homers, pitchers are going back to being cautious. When he was struggling, they went after him.
Preston, I got a question for you, because that was a good view of what happens to a guy who's getting locked in. He saw a 2-0 changeup. So now you get to 3-1. How's your thinking then?
Well, now you do what you've been doing. You trust what you see. We get in trouble as a hitter when you start to try to change what you're thinking in the middle of a bat, especially when it's a situation when nobody's on. Trust what you see, control what you can, get ready on time. In your eyes, your brain will tell you when to fire at that pitch.
Dobbs takes in, ball pops loose. Stanton did not have a clear view, especially with a left-handed hitter in there, and it trickled away from Navarro, but not far enough for Stanton to advance.
Yeah, he was a little upset with himself, too. By the time he saw where the ball had trickled away, it was too late. And you could see that he was upset that he didn't pick it up right away.
But with a left-hand hitter, it makes it a little tougher because he was shielded. You know, he would like to get away with that and go to second, but with a left-handed hitter up there, you can understand why he maybe didn't see it as soon as he wanted to.
Villanueva from the belt. And a pitch inside.
You know, guys like Stanton who have that ability that they have, when they start going well, it almost looks like they're sitting on pitches, even when they're not, just because the body is so calm. You go, well, he had to be looking for that. But his setup just gets so good that they see everything, and they see it so much longer.
You see where Villanueva has missed. He's 2-0 on Dobbs. Another 2-0 changeup.
Yeah, that's a good pitch for him. It's a pitch that he usually uses to lefties, but we saw him throw 2-0 changeup to Stanton. He's been a very serviceable pitcher. We talked about where he's been, Toronto and Milwaukee, but he's also been used as a starter and out of the bullpen. He's been used a couple of ways.
Cubs liked him enough to give him a 2-year, $10 million contract.
See, for Stanton, things like a 2-0 changeup or 3-1 changeup, those are things that he may want to be more conscious of with people on base or people in score position, because that's when they're really going to try to foul him up and get his rhythm off. I don't think they care if he hits a solo home run.
Yeah, late in the game.
Yeah, late in the game. Situations where he can help win the game. That's when he really needs to understand the pitchers are going to try to pitch backwards to him in fastball counts. And he still has to look fastball, but he just has to be conscious of that they will be willing to do it.
Dobbs up there right now. He was called out on strikes in the first. Villanueva has 4 strikeouts and a couple of walks. Dobbs, a sharp ground ball, bobbled there by Castro, and out there, Dobbs beats it at first. Greg Dobbs hit it on the button. Castro was so hard he had enough time to knock it down, put a fork in it, and start the double play.
Yeah, they were shading him up the middle, cheating a little bit for the double play, and the ball was stung, and it took a while for Barney to get to second, so he couldn't quite complete the double play. Give Dobbs credit, going up hard, trying to stay out of the double play.
And Barney swung over for the left-handed hitting Dobbs. So the Cubs get an out of it. Now Solano with Brantley behind him. Dobbs is running, pitches a strike, and the throw is in time. He's out.
I thought he beat that one.
I'd like to see that one again.
Yeah, I thought he beat that one.
Dobbs doesn't think he was out. Here comes Mike Redmond out as well. He got a great jump.
Boy, you make the call. Tags up by the knee.
Wow, that's close.
That's bang, bang.
Yeah,
A lot closer than we thought.
that could go either way. It looked like the heel hit the bag right about the same time. That's really close.
And of course, we have the ability to watch it in super slow motion, whereas an umpire gets one look real time. And you're right, it's bang bang.
Yeah, you can see what Greg Dobbs was thinking. A little element of surprise. They're not expecting him to steal. Castillo throws better than Navarro, so they were thinking, okay, Navarro's behind the plate.
Liner and just foul off the bat of Solano. Wolf had a great angle. You can see Jim Wolf, the umpire, looking right in.
It is one of those that could have gone either way.
Yeah, that's call you definitely can't be upset about. Whenever I see a guy go feet first and it's that close, so I always wonder if he goes head first, how much safer is he going to be? Because when you go feet first, in essence, you do have to kind of halt your momentum a little bit to lift yourself up off the ground to be able to get your feet out in front.
Which brings up a good point. Are you an advocate of head in certain situations?
I liked head first slides going into second base. I did. I never liked it going into home, but I like head first slides going into second or third. I did.
Did you wear any kind of protection on your wrist or your hands?
No, I didn't. I was taught how to slide, properly, and I think that's part of the problem. You have a lot of kids sliding and they don't know how to slide properly. They keep their fingers pointed down. They don't get there, get up on the heels of their hands, and it ends up making it injury prone.
Marlins fourth fizzles out, and the Cubs still lead it. Craig Minervini.
Well, Rich, you hate to bring up 1908 when the Cubs are in town, especially after defeating your team 3-0 in a series. But as you know, it's the longest drought in North American professional sports. They won the World Series in 1908 and haven't won in the last 104 years. We thought we'd look back at what else was going on in the news in 1908. William Taft, the great friend of Teddy Roosevelt, nominated and elected 27th president. First around the world car race went from New York across the country, up through Alaska, across a couple of ships, and it landed in Paris some 169 days later. The Model T, produced by Henry Ford and Hoover, acquired the rights to the newly invented upright vacuum. All in 1908, and that's a year the Cubs would like to put in the past, and it doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon, coming off a 100-loss season a year ago. But they are retooling, guys.
And little did William Taft know at the time that he would someday be a racing president.
Or mentioned on a Marlins telecast.
DeJesus, in his leadoff spot, pulls that one foul.
And when our good friend Jay Randolph was one of our broadcast partners, we would say to Jay, and you were there for that original broadcast, weren't you?
Well, he was there. I think he anchored the race around the world coverage because he did motorsports as well.
Yeah.
Golf, motorsports, horse racing.
We have some further 08 facts if you guys would like.
Sure, why not?
Would you?
Yeah.
All right.
Bring them on.
Here we go. Stamps.
Wow.
2 cents. A gallon of gas, 11 cents. You could get a beautiful car for $800.
No, that's a
dozen
gallon.
eggs. What? And the minimum wage was 22 cents an hour, and the average salary about $400 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Green fires to first, and DeJesus is out. I think it was. I know when you're a director, and we have a critically acclaimed one, Jim Ollie. It's almost unfair that Dale Swain gets shown with the futility graphic because he's not responsible. This is just his second year, and he's part of the rebuilding.
He's part of the rebuilding process with Theo Epstein.
But there are a lot of Cubs managers we could show in place of Swain, representing the frustrations. None of them are present and on the rail of the dugout.
Charlie Fox, perhaps. Whitey Lockman.
Lee Elia. One of the more colorful.
Yes.
It's got to be, guys, an annoying topic for the Cubs to still have to deal with. Guys that had nothing to do with it. I know, growing up in New York, the Rangers always had to deal with 1940, the chance, 1940, because that was the last time they won the Cup until the 90s. And for the Cubs, generations are going by, and these players are often hear that 1908 from reporters, generally visiting reporters, and it's got to be an annoying, very annoying fact for them that they have to deal with. It has nothing to do with it.
It kind of is what it is, though. You can't really run away from it. Anytime you put on that uniform, you're going to be associated with it. But let's be honest, there's a lot of people who put on a Yankee uniform that haven't been any part of 26 or 27 World Championships that they have. So, it goes both ways.
Well, I know Cubs fans are hoping, because they saw what Theo Epstein was able to do in Boston with their long drought, and they're certainly hoping the same thing happens for them in Chicago.
Here's a 3-1 pitch. Here's a fun fact about Dale Swain. World champion, New York Yankees, teammate of Tino Martinez. (3-2).
A many-time world champion.
There you go. Dobbs, and that one's down the stairs.
We got us a trainer right there on that foul ball. Get a trainer for the trainer.
He'll treat himself. Now it's time for the Just for Men Auto Stop foolproof stat. Called strikeouts last year. Who was the best at it? Cliff Lee. Look at Gallardo, Kershaw, AJ, and Matt Cain. Those are the leaders in called strikeouts last year in the National League.
I think there are guys that you would expect there on that list.
How about a swinging strikeout of Starlin Castro, whose 2-run double is the difference in the ball game right now.
Believe it or not, the first strikeout for Ricky Nolasco today.
We did a great job getting back in that at bat. He fell behind early, was able to throw a good pitch 3-1, got himself a foul ball, and then finish him off the hitter right there.
no problem with strikeouts the other day for Anibal Sanchez, setting a Detroit franchise record. Think of the pitchers they've had over the years, too, with 17 strikeouts.
Last year when Sanchez was here, he started to change his diet, his nutrition, and just when we saw him in the spring, he looked like a completely different guy. He lost a lot of weight midway through his Marlin career. He came in a little pudgy when he got to the big leagues, but he's really redefined himself, and it shows. He's off to a terrific start for the Tigers.
But you get this cush life up here in the major leagues. You get these hotels with these great restaurants and all that. But part of it also comes with the food that you're eating. You have to understand that you have to curtail the times that you're eating, because you are getting in hotels late at night. And sometimes it's really easy to order that burger and fries on that 24-hour menu. But these guys are now learning how much nutrition plays a part into this major league season, which is, as long as it is, you have to learn how to manage your food.
Rich keeps a close eye on me with that late night room service order, burger and fries.
Well, last time we were in Washington, D.C., I took Tommy to Whole Foods for lunch, and that's exactly where Anibal Sanchez goes.
He's gone the way of Javier Vasquez.
And he learned that from Javier Vasquez. Jim Joyce says strike 3. There's a called strike. Called strike 3 on Anthony Rizzo. In a 1-2-3 inning, Nolasco has set down 9 in a row. Weekends.
A lot of Hurricane fans last night. 27,000. Over 27,000 last night.
Ricky Nolasco in a 3-2 ball game. Nolasco's gone 5 innings. Ricky's thrown 76 pitches. Tommy talked about earlier in the telecast the same old story for the Marlins. Brantley pulls a ground ball. And this has an incredibly eerie feeling to not only this series, guys, but the entire season so far for Miami. I mean, here are the Marlins limping in at 5-19, last in the majors in runs scored. Mike Redmond has tried anything and everything he can. And the Fish have 2 runs on just 1 hit. That 1 hit, a Giancarlo Stanton 2-run homer. And in this series, it seems like the Marlins have been stuck on the bottom end of a 3-2 score for the last 4 days.
Well, sometimes you have to make an adjustment. I know Redmond is very wary of not wanting to overmanage, but now he may have to actually do a little bit more investigating in his ball club to see who are his guys who can get bunts down, because he doesn't really know some of them in those situations, and he may have guys who throughout their career have not done it well. So there may be a day where he might pick 2 or 3 guys, go send them down to the cage, turn up that pitching machine, and just see who has the aptitude to start getting bunts down, because he may have to start managing a little bit differently, but he's got to find out who can plug into those situations.
0-2. It's up. The other issue, I mean, there's more than just 2 issues. Marlins have one of the lowest on base percentages in baseball. They have the lowest slugging percentage in baseball. So they're not getting them on, and when they do get on, they don't have that hit that does damage. 1-2 coming from Villanueva. We just received a missive from our crack staff from Tallahassee wanting to know when is the Florida State weekend. When's Seminole weekend here at Marlins Park?
Why do I have a feeling I know who that's from?
We saw his photo when we were at the Montgomery Inn in Cincinnati, a former Cincinnati Red shortstop.
A lot of great photos at the Montgomery Inn. Talk about a guy who's really settled in, though. You're talking about Carlos Villanueva.
That's held, didn't hit the dirt, and Navarro saves the strike for Villanueva, who gets his second strikeout of Nick Green. Marlins and Mets. It's Matt Harvey. It's Jose Fernandez, and that's tomorrow. It's also all-you-can-eat night. Just $22. All-you-can-eat hot dogs, nachos, peanuts, popcorn, Pepsi, and water. And, of course, on Florida Heroes Mondays, military, vets, and first responders with valid ID get complimentary tickets. Marlins.com for information. And tomorrow night is must-see TV. Harvey, of course, has been lighting it up for the Mets as Valleca stands in. Fernandez is knocked around his last 2 times out. And, guys, the Marlins feel that maybe he's been tipping his pitches a bit.
Yeah, they've been working on that in between.
That's been a point of emphasis in his work between starts.
You just have 2 of the brightest young talented pitchers going tomorrow night. So whether you're here or you watch, it's a must, because Harvey's been the talk of baseball out of North Carolina, and he's a college guy, and of course Jose out of high school, just 20 years old.
0-2 to Valleca. I mean, Villanueva, who gave up the 2-run homer to Stanton, other than that, he has been overpowering.
Been a couple of balls hit pretty well. Solano lined out to short, the hard one hopper that Dobbs hit. Other than that, it's been about it.
Yeah, he's made a few pitches that got hit hard, but other than that, he's been able to, once he got ahead of the hitters, to put them away. He puts pitches in places where you can't do anything other than swing and miss or hit it very weakly.
He really has confidence in that changeup. There it was again. So he's not afraid to use it to lefties and righties. Yeah, I was just thinking, and you know, once I was not a proponent of seeing the Fox tracks all the time, but one of the things that has really made me aware of, if you were to show the Fox tracks in a minor league game, you'd see a whole lot more pitches in the middle of that zone, and that's the difference in this league and in the minor leagues. You watch every time, and pretty much everything's on the corners.
That's a great point.
There are a lot fewer mistakes to be had as a hitter to take a swing at this level.
And if you just joined us and you see Fox tracks up for the whole game, today our point of emphasis is strike zone. Cliff Floyd on Marlins Live pointed out the intricacies of the strike zone. We had a chance to chat with Jim Joyce and the rest of the umpiring crew about it. Preston in his fun house went over the strike zone. Here's the 0-2.
I think it should be a question we could ask the kids on Tuesday night. I believe a week or so ago we did have that question, why don't we show this more? Maybe we should leave it up to emails and tweets on Tuesday night to see if the fans actually like that, seeing that all the time.
Make it the people's choice?
Yeah.
Well, I think one thing to do, like you said earlier, it gives you an idea of how the pitch is working. You can see how pitches are moving inside to outside just because it has the number of the pitches. So you can show the sequence of how the pitcher's trying to work the batter to one side of the plate to the other side of the plate. Now,
don't see anything in the middle yet.
If they want to get really cute with it, they can change the color of the ball for breaking balls versus fastballs. You know, have the yellow dot for a fastball, have a blue dot for a curveball. You know, that's just if they really want to get.
Now you're putting
it.
pressure on the crack staff.
That would be a great innovation, though.
I'll be right back. I'm going to the patent office.
Preston thinking like a hitter and an entrepreneur. Blake is up, and he continues to battle. He drives that ball to right center. It's pretty deep. DeJesus has good speed. And on the 9th pitch of the at-bat, DeJesus runs it down on the warning track. Still 3-2 Cubs. And, of course, when you say University of Miami baseball, one of the first things that pops into your mind is the great head coach who really built the program, Ron Frazier, who passed away this year.
You know, before the Marlins came to South Florida, when you thought of baseball, you thought of Ron Frazier, 2 national championships for the Hurricanes, and just well remembered.
Ricky Nolasco into the 6th. Alfonso Soriano, Nate Shearholtz, Deoner Navarro. Soriano 0 for 2, and he takes in. A couple of run-scoring doubles have been the mark against Nolasco. Anthony Rizzo's RBI double in the 1st, and the 2-run double by Starlin Castro in the 3rd. Bouncer up the middle, Green to his left, behind the bag. Makes the play.
You can see, and Ricky's tried to do it most of this game. The bat has slowed a little bit from Soriano, so he's really trying to run fastballs in on him and tied him up there pretty well.
Now Shearholtz comes up. Marlins rotation continues to put up, I think, better than expected numbers, especially coming out of spring training. Jacob Turner not making the club, being sent to AAA. The injuries to Evaldi and Alvarez. That one's popped back up here and comes up just shy of our perch.
You know who the organization is keeping a close eye on? Big left-hander that came over in that trade with the Tigers is Brian Flynn. 6'7" lefty, Had a 1.57 ERA after 4 starts in Double-A and was just promoted to Triple-A.
Alvarez is closer than Eovaldi. Eovaldi on the 60-day DL, not expected back till early June. Kind of the same timeline as Logan Morrison. And that's if all goes well with that right shoulder. Shearholtz battling the 2-1 pitch. Ricky misses up. And it's 3-1. But every team has injuries, and in terms of the Marlins' fate so far this year, I don't know that adding Eovaldi or Alvarez would make any difference. There's a look at Casey Kochman, because I think the starting pitching has performed pretty well. And the issues for the Marlins are simple. They can't score runs, and defensively they've been a mess. A one-hopper, Solano makes a nice play there.
No mess there.
Nope.
That was nicely done.
Yeah, and I think the pitchers have to be given credit for the way that they've pitched, but also it's a credit to Mike Redmond and the philosophies and the way that he understands hitters and how to help the catchers call a good game.
Yeah, I think it's been frustrating for the pitchers, and they've handled it tremendously, knowing that they haven't gotten a lot of support, but they've gone out there, done their business. And I think you're right about Red. I think he's great, not only for the pitching staff, but for the catchers, especially Rob Brantley, a young catcher. He's been great for him.
You know, and they kind of tie in what we talked about earlier when we talked about offense. Red was one of those guys who had to become a good sacrifice bunter also. You know, he wasn't a power guy. He could hit for some average, but he knew that when he came up to the plate, there would be time that he may be asked to get a sac bunt down. And I remember times him going down to the cage and actually working on his sac bunt, because he wasn't an everyday player. So he had to make sure that whenever he got the opportunity to get in there, that there wasn't a reason for the manager to pull him out of the game. So he worked on his sac bunting. And he took it very seriously doing batting practice also.
That's the serious side of Red.
Yes.
We know he had the other side.
Well, and that's the part.
He can have some fun.
He was a great balance of knowing that he always got everything done, but he was always so, loose around the clubhouse and in the locker room.
Ricky Nolasco, this just in, has retired 12 in a row. University of Miami week. And you know what? Let's flash back to the first walk-off in Marlins Park history. Since it's University of Miami week, why not have a Gabby Sanchez moment? It was against the Bills.
You know, you always follow, I know you do, the former Marlins, see how they're doing. Gabby got off to a slow start with the Pirates this year. Then he went through a period of time he wasn't playing, and then he got hot again, and all of a sudden Gabby Sanchez around 270, 280, got a few home runs and doing a pretty good job for the Pirates.
If I'm watching that video, I might have to give Bonifacio a call if I'm Gabby Sanchez. I didn't realize he was giving him a couple rabbit punches to the ribs right there at the end of that celebration. I'm like, what's that all about, man?
So here is Nolasco. Juan Pierre, Chris Coughlin to follow. An obvious sign that Mike Redmond feels that Nolasco's not done at 88 pitches and would like at least another inning out of him. Villanueva gets the corner. Ball and a strike.
I don't think any of us had a problem with Ricky coming up and hitting here. He's throwing the ball well. You have enough time down the road. You're Mike Redmond. You're looking at the possibilities of matchups late in the game. The one guy you would like to get an at bat if it's a right-hander on a mound is Joe Mahoney. And if a left-hander comes in, you have Ruggiano available.
Nolasco strikes out, and Juan Pierre comes up. Villanueva now 7 strikeouts to go with 2 walks. Miami has still just 1 hit, and that was the Giancarlo Stanton 2-run homer.
You know, you also hate to see Nolasco get taken out simply because the rhythm that he had there going in there, and he's facing 7, 8, 9 of the order coming out. So you feel confident that he can get through that part of the lineup.
Pierre takes a strike.
And I'm sure Ricky a lot more comfortable in this atmosphere than he was in his last start in Minneapolis.
I think we all are. That was cold stuff. There's the 0-1. Ball's in the dirt.
Which the irony is that it was actually a little warmer by about 4 or 5 degrees for the start time of the night game than it was for the day game.
Cold is cold, man. It was cold all over all over that ballpark. Juan Pierre to left field, a base hit. And so the Marlins have their 2nd hit. They've got a base stealer on in a 1-run game.
And fans, just in case you're wondering how well these defensive charts are managed and how much they know where these guys are going to hit the ball, the left fielder does not move a step. The ball is hit right to him. It falls in front of him for a base hit, but he does not have to move a step. That's how good these guys are charting these defenses.
Now Pierre aboard at first. Miami is 10 of 11 in stolen bases, so a very good percentage. And Pierre has led the way. He's 5 of 6. Pierre's running on the first pitch. Pitch in the dirt. He's got it stolen. There's number 6 on the season for Pierre. Marlins actually have been caught twice. I did not factor in the Dobbs caught stealing earlier today.
All things worked here. Great jump, and then the pitch was down a little bit, mishandled by Navarro. So 597 career stolen bases now for Juan Pierre. He got 58 of those as a Cub in 2006.
Man can still run.
He was not with the Cubs very long, was he? He was just there 1 year.
Just the 1 year.
Marlins got three arms. Nolasco, of course, turned out to be the best of the 3. Sergio Mitre had a nice season. Reynolds Pinto had some good Pinto and some bad Pintos.
Good and bad.
But Pierre would go on to the Dodgers and sign a nice contract there from his 1 year as a Cub. 1-1. Coughlin takes down low. The fact that Miami has just 2 hits should not be a surprise. Hitters came in hitting a whopping 167 against Villanueva in his 4 starts this year.
Well, you know, he's one of those guys that can keep every type of hitter off balance because he trusts his soft stuff so much, and he locates his fastball. So it doesn't matter whether he's facing lefties or righties. He can dominate you with his control and location.
Well, I tell you what, in a nutshell, Rich, not only in the season but in this series, the Marlins are 2 for 20 in this series with runners in scoring position, and both of those were Thursday.
But you can actually see Juan Pierre. He looks like he's trying to gauge whether he can steal third right here.
Is he runnerish?
Oh, he looks a little runnerish to me. You see the shortstop cheating up behind him. He looks like he's a little runnerish. Like, you can see it in his eyes, like his body motion, body language is like he's trying to get the rhythm to see when he can pick apart this pitcher to take third on him.
Cogman fouls it off. Well, the importance of getting there with one out is magnified, because if he can get there, then all of a sudden he can score on an out.
Navarro with a little reminder to Villanueva, even though I thought Villanueva did a good job looking back a couple of times, changing it up just to try to keep Juan Pierre from getting that walking lead.
Well, pitchers know when they have a guy there who's willing to go that they have to vary their looks. They can't just look back one time and then deliver to the plate. They have to make sure they check more than one time to give him another look to make sure that he doesn't just go.
You see pitch 6. It's right there. And Villanueva with his 8th strikeout. The Freeze Cam is brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Well, it wasn't as titanic a blast as last night, but Giancarlo Stanton in the first knocked one out of the park, a 2-run shot literally off of Carlos Villanueva out there in left field.
Boy, that's a thing of beauty in slow-mo.
All right, he pitched around him essentially in the 4th.
And I think the one thing that slow-mo really illustrates is when they talk about guys getting extension, they don't mean that your arms are fully extended at the point of contact. Your arms are still a little bit bent in contact, but you extend through the baseball with your swing. It's not that your arms are extended, fully stretched out at the point of contact.
Got a slow breaking ball over for strike 1. And now he comes up and gets a call, and it's 0-2.
That's as a hitter, that's the worst kind of missed call you can get. One that puts you in a hole 0-2.
Yes. Yeah, that because now that changes the at bat.
Because he's done such a good job at the strike zone. Giancarlo has in not chasing pitches.
And so now if you're Villanueva, you got a variety of places you can go here without throwing a strike. Stanton went down after that one. It's a foul ball.
I mean, any hitter will tell you they'll 1-1, fine, I can deal with that. 0-2, that's a whole lot tougher place to battle yourself back from an at bat.
Navarro may have said, I think you got a little bit too much of the plate on that 0-2 pitch.
He's like, well, how can you tell? He's like, but did he touch it? Yes. Well, then you got too much of it.
Still 0-2. Pierre still in scoring position at second.
Preston, do you like the runner to stay put in this situation?
Yes.
You're really focused as a hitter?
Yes, especially big RBI guys, home run hitters. You don't want somebody moving out there when you got 2 strikes on you. You're already in scoring position. It's 2 outs. Get your lead, get set. I don't want anything else distracting you. Plus, you got on that big, bright orange jersey. I'm definitely going to see you moving around with that thing on out there.
That's way out. Now, we've talked about strike zone. The catcher also dictates, and the umpires talk.
His target's in the left-handed hitter's batter's box.
And you know what? He hit the target, and that's. Here's the 2-2. Stanton drives it into left field, a base hit. Here comes Pierre. That one got too much of the plate. Pierre will score. Stanton to second.
What a great job, not only of hitting, but base running by Giancarlo.
Yeah, knowing that there's going to be a play at the plate because he hit the ball so crisply, never stopped, kept going around in the back. I'll tell you what, Barney actually saved them a guy going to third base right there because that was a really bad throw, and he really gave up his body to keep that ball from going in outfield on that throw from the catcher.
Now, the ball was coming to the target. It just never got there.
Never got there.
He's just so much more balanced now.
Wow.
He's got so much more coverage. and he can stay through the ball, even though the ball may be off the plate or maybe a little out of strike zone. He's such a big guy, he can reach it, and when he does that with balance, good things happen.
Hard for the cutoff man to get over there because the ball was hit so hard, and Stanton picked that up right away.
So it's been all Stanton in this one. He's driven in all 3 Miami runs, and Villanueva is going to walk Dobbs to pitch to Solano.
And we talked about Ricky before not being able to get the ball far enough out of the strike zone. That's the case with Villanueva right there, not being able to put the batter away, not being able to get the pitch far enough away, down, up, or out of the strike zone where you let the main guy in the lineup beat you.
I would think from this point on, the way this game goes the next few innings, that Stanton's not going to see anything to drive in a run.
And if the Cubs are thinking the way they should be, he shouldn't. There's no way he should get a pitch to drive in a run.
And that goes back to what Tino Martinez told him early in the year, to be ready the first couple of ABs, first 2-3 ABs, which is, as the game goes on, you might not see as much.
You know, I learned a lot from Larry Walker when I went to Colorado. He was really talking to me about driving in runs and understanding and approaching your bats. And he said that a lot of times pitchers will go off of your body language. If they look at you and they feel like you're not ready to hit when you get up there, they're just going to pump that first pitch strike. So you have to make sure that you look like you're ready all the time. Even if you have no intentions of swinging at the first pitch, you have to look like you're ready. He said, but really, I want you to be ready. Be ready to hit that first pitch fastball. Don't let them get away with anything.
And who told us that recently?
Joey Votto.
Yes, he did.
Saw Chris Bosio, the pitching coach to the Cubs, out. Yeah, we asked Votto specifically about hitting with no one around you, because the teams have pitched around Votto, and they're doing it this year. And how do you psychologically get over the hurdle? And Votto said that's easy. He said just assume that they're pitching to you. And if it's a ball, don't swing at it.
I understand exactly what he's saying, because he learned a lot earlier in his career than I did in mine. I learned the more that I was ready, I actually laid off the bad pitches more. I didn't swing at as many bad pitches when I was ready and on time.
So Solano's in a spot here where the Cubs, as Cameron Lowe gets warm, the Cubs intentionally walk Dobbs just to get to Solano, who's lined out, struck out. And he hits a smash off the glove of Castro and into left field. Here comes Stanton. He's going to score. That one looked like it went through the glove of Starlin Castro.
Maybe the worm has turned. There was a time the last couple of weeks that ball be caught.
Castro might have been glad that he didn't catch that, because it might have dragged him out into left field with it.
That ball was stung and quickly got over his head. A great at bat and swing by Donovan Solano. He couldn't get up there in time.
No, that ball was by him. Got to work on Stanton's turn over there at third base. He's in the third base coach's box.
Rob Brantley, who was struck out and bounced out. There's a fastball for a strike.
Really good line shot. Here comes Giancarlo. Look out, Joe Espada. Well, I think we'll have something changed here, because I'm going to have both Preston and me going nuts. They've given an error to Castro, the shortstop.
Yeah, that will be changed. I have no doubt in my mind that will be changed.
I'm not changing that.
I think the second view that we had of the ball beating Castro's glove up is the definitive view. And I suspect the official score hasn't seen that view. Brantley now into right center. DeJesus and Shearholtz, two very good outfielders, and it's DeJesus that makes the catch. But Miami rallies for a couple. 3 hits, Pierre, Stanton, and Solano. just a taste of a kid Sunday in Miami, and a 4-3 Miami lead over the Cubs into the 7th inning. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton, Preston Wilson, Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine, and the crack staff is here. And Ricky Nolasco is still in, and this has to feel good for Ricky. Ricky lasting this long and seeing his ball club come back and take the lead. And now his job, and he chooses to accept it, is to stay on the run that he's on right now. He's retired 12 in a row. He gets Valbuena, Barney, and the pitcher spot, bottom third of the order for the Cubs.
He's had 3 consecutive 1-2-3 innings. And because of the way the season has gone for the Marlins, they haven't had many opportunities for a pitcher to go out there and have what you like to call a shutdown inning. And this is that opportunity.
Nolasco pulled off at the last second, and he let Green take that ground ball for the first out of the 7th. Marlins and Mets, remember, on Wednesday it's a 12:40 start, and it's CBS 4 Weather Day at the ballpark. Preston Wilson will be going up in the weather balloon, so you want to see that. Take advantage of the Chevron Crazy 8s offer. Get an $8 home run porch ticket or an $18 home plate box ticket with your receipt of 8 gallons or of gas or more. Visit your local Chevron station for more info. Nothing like Weather Day.
Good job of the call, Rich. You picked it up right away. Watch Ricky. Thought about it. Nope. Got a shortstop right there. Nice 2-hopper.
Darwin Barney's 0 for 2. So that's 13 in a row now for Nolasco.
Ricky's actually gotten stronger and has had much better control the last 3-4 innings.
Ooh. 2-1.
He's really doing well throwing to that first base side. He's got that corner down on that first base side down. That's a great pitch.
Pitch 3 was actually right on top of pitch 2, so much so that you can't see pitch 2. Now it's 2-2.
Looks like when you're on fire playing darts.
Repeat the delivery.
Well, Ricky's on fire right now. 14 in a row Nolasco has set down. We told you he's really good against his old team. And these Cubs, the organization that drafted him back in 2001 in the 4th round, and ever since he put on a Marlins uniform, Nolasco has won games, especially against the Cubs. This is his 8th start against the Cubs. His ERA is under 3, 2.85, and he's 4-2 against them. Dave Chappelle going to take the at-bat of Carlos Villanueva.
You know, for Villanueva, he pitched well. Had a few little mishaps and set a career high, tied his career best, 8 strikeouts.
Ball and a strike with 2 outs. The Mets are here tomorrow night. Marquee matchup of young starting pitchers. Jose Fernandez, Matt Harvey. We started at 6:30 with Marlins Live. And we'll see if that the young 20-year-old for the Marlins makes a few adjustments. High pop-up. Green is calling. 15 straight Cubs set down by Ricky Nolasco. He's right at 100 pitches.
Well, a kind of a repetitive story. The opposition scores first. The youngster Anthony Rizzo, big two-base hit to give the Cubs a 1-0 lead. How about Stanton? He is on fire. Second home run in consecutive games. A 2-run shot. The Marlins took a 2-1 lead against the Cubs. Cubs battle back though in the third inning. They put together a bunch of base hits. Started by Villanueva. De Jesus got a hit. Then a big one from their shortstop, Starlin Castro. And just like that, the Cubs took the lead. But in the sixth inning, JP gets things going. Slaps the ball hard in the left. Here's that guy Stanton again. What an at-bat. Great at-bat, solid swing. That tied the game with Stanton taking second on the throw. Donovan Solano a rope over the head of Castro's head. And just like that, a 4-3 lead. A base hit by Donovan Solano.
Bottom 7, so Nolasco has 7 innings in the books. 15 in a row retired. Cameron Lowe finishing his warm-up tosses. He comes in the game, and we're headed to Preston's Playhouse again. Preston?
Well, guys, we've seen pitches today all over the strike zone. I want to show the kids at home about attacking the ball in different parts of the strike zone. Then we're going to start away. From the ball away, you really want to try to let the ball get a little bit deeper. Keep your hands above the ball, and you want to get that action a little bit deeper. The ball up and away is the same thing. Hands up above the ball, there. And when you move inside, we're going to see what Stanton did on the home run down and in. He got the barrel a little bit further out in front, head behind the ball, get that plane going that way. And up and in, which was the toughest pitch for me to hit, same thing, hands above the ball, behind it, and get your hands out front and that way. Those are the 4 corners that you need to cover.
Now, at your size and at Stanton's size, covering the plate probably a little easier because you've got the longer arms. What about for a smaller hitter, say a Donovan Solano?
Well, guys that are a little bit smaller, sometimes they get a little bit closer to the plate. And actually, it's easier for them because they never really get extended. And a lot of hitters, one problem that you have is getting your hands extended too early in the strike zone. So the smaller hitters actually have a better chance at hitting the ball inside because they have those shorter arms.
All right, fine job in the Playhouse today, by the way.
That's what's fun to watch, smaller hitters that have some pop, like a Dustin Pedroia, the way he gets extensions, or years ago, back in the 70s and 80s, a former Dodger and Cub.
Nick Green, left field, and way out of here. How about that?
Well, it wasn't the first pitch, but we know Nick Green's always ready early in the count. And he took one deep off the right-hander Cameron Lowe.
And a 5-3 lead for Miami.
Talked about it earlier, how Nick Green likes to swing at that first pitch. This wasn't the first pitch, but it was the second pitch. And he pads on to the lead with a home run that was a no-doubter.
And Preston, this is just what we were talking about. A smaller guy getting his hands through. And he certainly got him through there.
I know a lot of pitchers who don't like throwing into guys that have short arms for that reason, because if they have any type of pop, they don't get extended inside so they can clear their hands and get to that ball. So guys that have these big long arms, guys try to pound them in, but pitchers a lot of times don't like throwing guys with short arms inside.
And Rich, the former Cub and Dodger I was referring to, Ron Cey, had the short arms, had some pop, and he could get to that pitch inside.
Ron Gant was the same way. Even though he was a big guy, he had short arms, played second base, and if you threw him inside, you would never see that ball again.
This is game number 12 as a Marlin for Nick Green, and that goes back to the end of last year. Home run number 1 as a Marlin, home run number 17 in his career.
Now, how about back-to-back games now for the Marlins where they've homered twice?
Could be the start of something good.
Valleca now with a count 1-2 against Cameron Lowe. To center, De Jesus was shaded to right center, runs it down, and that prevents a triple. Valleca will take the double.
No, great swing right there by Vallejo. He waits on a breaking ball, stays with it, stays through it. Could have very easily rolled over that ball to shortstop, but he stayed through it. But I got to tell you, DeJesus right here, even though he doesn't catch that ball, to be able to cut that ball off at its furthest point and not give up a triple on that play, that's really good outfield play.
That's one of those plays that it's a non-play. I mean, you don't get an assist, you don't get a put out, you're not charged with an error, but you prevented something.
There's no stat for it, but he just really saved his team having a runner in score position with no out. I mean, having a man on third with no outs, because that's a great play to cut that ball off.
Austin Kearns pinch hitting.
A little surprised here. Even if you're taking Ricky out, I wouldn't be surprised to have seen Ricky go up there and just move the runner with a bunt over to third base. It's a little tougher assignment for Austin Kearns. I mean, he could drive the run in with a base hit, but coming off the bench cold to try to hit a ball the other way, even if you're taking Ricky out, leave him in, let him bunt the runner over.
I agree. It's not easy to do, to come in and to have to hit situationally right away.
Cholula hot sauce spotlight. Chris Vallejo, UC Santa Barbara Golden Gaucho, and proud of that. Led the Big West with 10 home runs.
Got his parents in town, in California. They're checking on Chris Vallejo.
I understand what you're saying about having the last go bunt. How much of the decision, though, is affected by the hitter that's up next? And Juan Pierre has struggled to drive balls out of the infield and drive in runs.
Easier for him to drive a runner in from third, though. He beats out an infield hit or drops down a bunt.
Bouncer to short. Castro to first in time. So Kearns is out.
A lot tougher for him to drive him in now.
Pierre does have a hit and is 1 for 3. Miami 5 hits, 5 runs, 3 RBIs for Stanton, a 2-run homer, RBI single, solo homer by Green, and of course Donovan Solano's line drive in the 6th inning was ruled an error. Now, there's an appeal process now in baseball. Teams can appeal to Major League Baseball, and baseball can review the film. As well, a scorer can go down and talk to either manager and see what they think about a call. Pierre to left, Soriano back, and he makes the catch.
Common sense has to come into play somewhere along the line, too.
Absolutely.
You know, and you look at this game and you go, coulda, woulda, shoulda. That ball is good enough for a sac fly. You don't know if they're going to pitch him the same if they bunt the guy over with Nolasco right there, but that swing right there is good enough for a sac fly.
That happened the other night with Polanco. Came up next and hit a fly ball. Mike Dunn getting ready. He'll go out and pitch the 8th inning.
You know, I haven't faced Major League pitching in a while, but I was down on the field the other day, and I was watching, actually yesterday, and I was watching Mike Dunn throw a little bit of flat ground, which is where pitchers could throw just from a flat surface to one of their fellow pitchers or a catcher. And he throws hard. You know, I'm like, wow, that looks really fast to me right now.
His velocity is actually up a little bit this year.
I think at times he gets in trouble. It straightens out a little bit, and at times he has trouble with his breaking ball to get lefties, to equalize left-handers.
Vallejo, his double followed the Green home run. Coughlin, a walk and an 0 for 2. Lowe bounces one right off the plate. Little chopper. Lowe will field and flip and get the out. Inning over, but Nick Green, his first homer as a fish, and it's 5-3. And hits the second homer of the day for the Fish. Giancarlo Stanton is homered again today. And Miami has scored some runs for Ricky Nolasco, who is done after 7 innings. He finished with a flourish. Nolasco retired the last 15 he faced. And in comes Mike Dunn.
For the Marlins, Rich, 5 is a plethora of runs. That's the way things have been going.
You're right about that. It's a big day. And now the key is to get the win, because the Marlins have played close games against the Cubs. They haven't scored this amount of runs, but here they have a chance to get a win and just try to get some semblance of momentum, a foothold, and stop this free fall before they get to May. They've got the Mets in tomorrow. It's a Matt Harvey, Jose Fernandez matchup in Game 1. That'll be a lot of fun to watch. But at this point, if you're the Marlins, the only thing fun is winning, and they've got to start doing that.
Well, you use the term, we use the term, baby steps. So baby steps in the home run department. The Marlins have hit 5 home runs in this series.
DeJesus takes a breaking ball for a strike. So Dunn gets the top of the order. DeJesus, Castro, and Anthony Rizzo.
Well, I think the Marlins knew that they were going to have some difficulties at times with their lineup. I think the one thing that really is more disappointing to them more than anything is their defense, is that they haven't played as well defensively as they'd like to.
I think we all thought it would be a better defensive club than we've seen. Not that it can't be.
You know, there's a really surprising team that's even worse than the Marlins defensively.
Yeah,
that's the Washington Nationals.
The Nationals.
That's a good defensive team on paper. You got 2 good defensive catchers. You got a Gold Glover at first. Desmond was terrific last year. This just in, and this will bring a smile to my 2 partners' faces. Scoring change. Solano gets a hit and an RBI.
That's right. Donovan knew it all along.
But the Nationals coming into play, 21 errors. The Marlins 19. DeJesus pulls one on the ground. Dobbs is there and takes it himself. And so adding to Nolasco's total, that's 16 consecutive Cubs who have been sent down.
Yeah, the last Cub with a base hit was that Castro double. He drove in 2 runs in the 3rd inning.
Well, here is Castro. He is flied out, has a 2-run double, and has struck out. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in my book, I never wrote E6 in. I just said line drive single RBI.
So did we.
I said I had no doubt in my mind that would be changed as soon as it was hit.
I put it in red ink. See, that's the difference, Preston. Rich does his in pencil. So he can just correct any quick mistake like that. He's got the white out. I do certain things in ink, and then when they change them, I'm in trouble.
Well, see, that says that you have conviction. That's what that is.
Right.
That's showing conviction in what you're doing.
Carlos Marmol.
Speaking of conviction, we said earlier we'd be penalized for bad play. Some of my games I played, I'd probably be on probation still.
Up the middle and into center field. Castro has a base hit, his second of the ball game.
Well, that breaks that string. 16 in a row set down.
Now Rizzo. And obviously Miami has to be aware that the Cubs have scored an awful lot of runs this year on home runs. 28 home runs for the Cubs this year. Atlanta has hit 36. And the Cubs are third in the National League. Colorado has hit 32.
That's actually a little unusual for Chicago, because usually early in the year you got that wind blowing in off the lake. So for them to have that many home runs this early, this could be a very big year home run rise for them, because it only gets better once it gets warmer in Chicago.
Yeah, they've been on a long road trip. Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Miami. But then they return home. Yeah, when the wind blows out in the summer and the ivy's on the wall, it's a lot better to hit at Wrigley than it is early in the year.
That's what makes Rizzo's 8 home runs and his record start for a lefty Cub bat even more impressive. No left-handed hitter in the long history of the Chicago Cubs has more April homers than Parkland's Anthony Rizzo.
And some of those day games, it could be 50 degrees, 60 degrees at the beginning of the game, and by the time it gets to the 7th, 8th inning, when that wind starts blowing in off the lake, it could be down in the 30s. So, I mean, that's really impressive for them to have that many this soon.
And our crack staff pointing out just 8 home games this year so far for the Cubs.
Rizzo, a solid liner in the center field. But he has such a sweet swing. You got to think that average isn't going to hover around 200 much longer.
But you look at him, and then you look at a guy from the Mets and Ike Davis, who kind of have a similar setup with the low hands. But the thing that Rizzo does is he starts his hands low initially and then brings them up, as opposed to Ike Davis starting high and dropping them down. Maybe Ike Davis might want to look at some of Rizzo's tape and incorporate some of that, because they do very similar things up there at the plate.
Dave McKay, the first base coach, chatting it up with Rizzo. So Dunn got the first man to Jesus, but now Soriano is up. And again in a 2-run lead. The Cubs have hurt the Fish with timely home runs in this series, although Soriano's hit just 1 home run this year.
You hope when you make that move with Mike Dunn, A.J. Ramos heating it up quickly, and you make the move because you have left-handers. He got to Jesus. Castro a righty got the hit. Rizzo a lefty got a hit. After Soriano, it's the left-hander Scherholz.
Yeah, and this has been, I know we talked about it earlier, but this has kind of been a theme throughout Soriano's career. The teams are not afraid to pitch to him in these situations because they feel like he will swing himself out of the at-bat. I know he drove in over 100 last year, but it's something that he still hasn't been able to do, is instill that fear in teams when he comes up to the plate late in the game with men in scoring position. They feel like they can pitch around him.
0-1 pitch. Soriano left field off the end of the bat, and Pierre makes the catch. He just missed that one. Little further on the bat, and that ball goes a lot further.
Yeah, well, it was 87 miles an hour, so it might have been a little breaking ball, or maybe even a half fastball, kind of add and subtract a little bit with him, and he got off the end of the bat.
So Nate Schierholtz due up. Scott Hairston, who certainly has the pop to hit it out, is coming up.
Now, this is one of those guys with the short arms that we talked about that you have to kind of watch out for in this situation. Can't leave him something middle in, mid-thigh high, because he can put it in the seats on you.
The Marlins don't get to Chicago until September.
I think we're there Labor Day.
The 2nd, the 3rd, and the 4th. Marlins do get to Chicago for the White Sox in late May. First pitch, a mean rip by Hairston.
Preston's certainly right about Hairston. Last year with the Mets, under 400 at bats. He had 377 at bats, and he had 20 home runs.
That was a career high.
Can't make a mistake.
Also had 25 doubles. That was a career high. He's an older guy too. He's 33, so he's been in the big leagues in that versatile reserve role for a long time. He got a lot of playing time comparatively last year to other years in his career.
The two Hairstons are both very solid players. Jerry plays a little more infield, Scott in the outfield, but they both can do a lot of things to win games.
Their father was like that. I'm sure their grandfather was like that.
Yeah, their father was a good pinch hitter. Very good pinch hitter.
Phillies lead the Mets 4-1 in the top of the 8th. Oh, 2. Busted his bat, left field. Here comes Pierre, and he gets there. Just gets there. Tough read for an outfielder. Pierre probably more on sound than anything. Got there and made the catch. And Dunn strands those 2 singles and hangs on to a 5-3 lead. He has a 5-3 lead over the Cubs in Miami. Scott Hairston takes over for Nate Schierholtz in right. Poll question. We've been talking strike zone throughout the day. AT&T U-verse brings you the poll question. Today's strike zone more defined than in the past. And right now, honest to goodness, it's 50-50. We'll bring you the final tallies on Marlins Live after the game. Giancarlo Stanton gets a fastball that's a called strike. Stanton, 2-run homer, is walked, RBI single. Cameron Lowe, second inning in relief. Nick Green greeted him with a home run to start the 7th.
See the sink that Cameron Lowe gets. That's a good two-seamer he has. He figured he'd go back in there because he got a call on the first pitch.
Yeah, he definitely got a call that appeared to be off the plate. But also with a guy like Lowe, you want to get the ball up a little bit.
Stanton, left field, get out of here! 2 today, 1 last night, and he is back.
That's another reason you want to start coming out.
Don't blink because you might miss it. This one is gone in a hurry.
This one wasn't one of those majestic ones. It just barely got out, but it got out in a hurry.
This one is one where the shortstop looked like he's about to jump up for it, and the next thing you know, it's over the fence.
The G-man strikes again.
A miserable April is coming to a close. Stanton's 7th multi-homer game. And Miami's lead is now 6-3. Dobbs with a little trickler off the glove of Lowe. Barney gathers it in. And there's an out here in the bottom of the 8th.
Gotta feel good for Giancarlo.
Oh, right there, another point of how good his balance is. He gets to his strike point, and he's able to just stay in good position until that breaking ball comes to him. He's able to put a good swing on it, stay through it, and with his power, the sky's the limit when he's in that position. I mean, he could end up hitting as many as they allow him to hit if he stays that way for most of the season.
Still, for the first time this year, the Marlins hit 3 home runs in a game.
Now Solano, who was 1 for 3, an RBI single. Marlins and Mets tomorrow night. Hernandez against Harvey. It's a 3-game series for the Tuesday night, and remember, Wednesday, 12:40. That's a great shot. That exhale from Stanton after what has been a real frustrating month for both Stanton and his teammates.
I really anticipate him making those adjustments earlier and earlier as his career goes along, because I think he's starting to get the sense of what it feels like to be on time and to have that balance. So coming out of spring training, I know these past couple of years he's had a few injuries here and there, has missed some time on the field. But I got to think that mentally he's going to start making that adjustment a whole lot sooner than he has been in his career.
Barney catches everything that's hit his way.
How different Rich and Preston is an advanced scouts report that's watched this series compared to an advanced scout who watched Stanton 2 weeks ago.
Well, we'll get a good view of it, because remember when the Marlins were in New York, the Mets pitched to Stanton. Both the Nationals and the Mets in that opening week, they went right after Stanton. And I think he was surprised at how many pitches he had to hit.
Well, and what happened is you end up taking the first pitch strike, and now if you take that first pitch fastball strike, which is what they were throwing him mostly, now they throw him an even better pitch, the second pitch. Now he's down 0-2. So he was behind 0-2, 1-2 in a lot of those at-bats simply because he was thinking they're just going to pitch around me.
I think when that season opened, that first week, yeah, he wasn't sure what he was going to see.
Neither were we.
Yeah, we were surprised in New York, and then when the Braves came to town, they didn't pitch to him.
And I think it's also, you have to look at how young this guy is. And we know he's put up monster numbers throughout his career already, but he's still 23, 24 years old.
Yeah.
And to be able to have an understanding of that at that age is really advanced. That's something guys learn in their late 20s, early 30s about approaching at bats, hit with men in scoring position. He's just so talented that he's been thrust into it so young in his life and career.
Brantley hits it hard. Barney runs it down, flips to first. Another home run. Third of the day for the Fish. Second of the day for Stanton. And Miami is busting out and headed to the ninth. Home runs for Miami. 3 runs, 6 hits for the Cubs. Our Toyota trend. The Cubs need to come back to make this happen. As we noted, 8 times the Cubs and the Marlins have played a 4-game series, and no one has ever swept a 4-game series. Just like last night, when you need to watch a game on any of your devices, just hit MLB.tv. Every out-of-market game live online, your favorite mobile device and connected device in HD quality. Subscribe now at MLB.tv.
Or if you need to send out a tweet, just go to your smartphone.
We want you to go to MLB.tv, though, after that.
After that, yes. This would cap off the whole afternoon for Steve Cishek, who has had his ups and downs, to come in a save situation. It's a 3-run game, and to come in, make some good pitches, and have himself a nice outing and pick up save number 2.
Well, for Cishek, remember the series didn't start out well. He gave up the Valbuena home run on Thursday night. It's Navarro who leads off here in the 9th. Navarro, then Valbuena, and then Barney.
Well, the one thing he did really well last year is he stayed at the bottom of the zone. And when that delivery, if you stay at the bottom of the zone, it's going to be hard for guys to elevate the ball against you. And I think this year I've seen him more pitching towards the middle of the top of the strike zone than I'd seen him do previously.
And as a hitter, it's a little easier to see when it's up in the strike zone.
He had 3 losses already this year for Cishek. And that's a single season high for the 26-year-old. He's 2 of 3 in save opportunities. And this would qualify. That one was up, and that one is gone. Just as Preston Wilson pointed out.
Boy, the real struggles, too, for Cishek have been against left-handed hitters. He hasn't, because he's been up, he doesn't have that third pitch little change up, little off speed, anything that moves away from a left-handed hitter. And lefties have really hurt him this year. And as Preston mentioned, you saw where that pitch was.
When you're a left-handed hitter with a right-handed pitcher who throws from the side, you see that ball a really long time. So he has to keep the ball down. Because it's just like if the right-handed batter is facing the lefty, he throws him out there. They'll tell you, I see that ball coming all the way around the corner, so it has to be low in the strike zone to be effective. When it's up like that, it gets hit a long ways.
Lefty's hitting near 350 with a couple of home runs against CHN this year.
And here's Valbuena, as we pointed out, he homered for a decisive run on Thursday night. Breaking ball, shot out to the shortstop, Green. First out of the ninth. Now tomorrow night, the Mets are here. Jose Fernandez, another home start, trying to bounce back after a couple of outings where he wasn't all that sharp. Brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. Matt Harvey has been sharp all along. The rookie sensation for the Mets is 4-0 with a 1.54. Marlins have been working with Fernandez between starts. You see what adjustments bring. And start at 6:30 tomorrow night. Darwin Barney, who was 0 for 3. Cubs trying to get the tying run to the plate. Green handles the grounder. One thing you know about Nick Green, you're going to get a very good infielder no matter where he plays.
Very solid, very sure-handed. He'd like to take back that one mental mistake he made earlier today on the flip. But other than that, you're absolutely right. He made up for that with the long ball, though.
That's right.
Hey, kids, they can't let in more than you drive in.
Here's Bourbon. Two outs, top of the ninth. After the ball game, Marlins Live, presented by Checkers. Top of the order, David DeJesus, another lefty bat on deck.
When I'm looking at CHN, and I see some of his balls are up, and a lot of them are staying arm side. It looks like he's not staying close quite as long as he did last year. Like that front side, he really kept buried on the hitter a little bit longer, and it was giving him the ability to drive down through the bottom of the strike zone. Right now, it looks like he's opening up just a little early, and the ball's staying up on him.
When sometimes it's just a little tweak.
Oh, very small.
Change things, yeah.
It's a very small maneuver that can cause that, and the difference between being really good and a little off in baseball, sometimes you're talking about less than inches.
Breaking ball, Cishek has it, ball game. Marlins win it. They finally get a game from the Cubs, and they do it on the broad shoulders of Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton knocks 2 out of the park. He drives in 4. And the Marlins win the ball game. Cishek gets the save, though he did give up a home run to open up the inning. And the Marlins pick up win number 6 on the season. Some final thoughts from Marlins Park when we return.